Hey there, I hope you are sitting down with an ice cold Brad's drink because it is your GG replay for Monday, October 4th, 2021. GG Replay is, of course, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show where we break down the latest in gaming news, hosted by us, the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games and a place for goofs. You know, well, I mean, we're workshopping the slogan, but I am Paul, and I'm joined, as always, by Matt. Matt, you are back. We had Mike last week filling in on Wednesday and Friday, who we love and appreciate for doing that, but you are back. Chief Groof is here in the house, and these are the Groofs you got for the day. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back, Paul. Thanks for having me back, allowing me to come back.
Always.
Wonderful listening to you and Mike. You guys do those 2 episodes last week. Mike does such a good job filling in. I really enjoy listening to the episodes. It's kind of cool to not be on the episode and just get to listen to it. It's a neat experience.
It's a lot of fun. I was just saying that. I actually finally finished listening to that Game Grooves that I wasn't on recently.
Yeah.
I just haven't had a lot of podcast time, so every time I go in the car by myself for like 5 minutes, which rarely happens, I'll toss on that episode and slowly pick away at it.
Yeah.
So great. I loved it. It was so good. I love listening to these episodes. It makes me think, hey, I mean, not to like toot our own horn, but it makes me think, hey, this might be like an actually like entertaining podcast if I find it entertaining. So
yeah.
There you go.
It's funny, you always wonder, like, is what we're doing any good? You know what? Not to toot our own horn, but I think we're doing all right. I think we're doing an okay job. It's an entertaining show, I think.
I know. I'm glad you think that too, because my worry always when I listen to one I'm not on is like, oh God, I'm the reason it's not entertaining because I thought this one was good. So if this one's good, it must mean the ones that I'm on are not good. So there you go. Yeah, it was a lot of fun having Mike on the show, of course. And it's good to have you back. I do appreciate your presence here because I feel like with just a simple look, you can rein me in a little bit too, which is good. Mike lets me get away with far too much insanity, so we get real off the rails on a Mike episode. I'll tell you what.
You and I have many years of tells and communication.
Yes,
so we've got that going for us.
God forbid we get Josh and I on an episode. I feel like it'll just be there will be nothing going on. It'll just be absolute mayhem. All right. Well, everyone, welcome back. We are here for another week of GG Replay. We are really, really excited, and we're going to jump right in because there are like a million stories today. You know, on Friday when I said it was a quantity over quality episode at the end of the day, I feel like this is a quantity and quality episode. There's just a ton of stuff to talk about, and all of it's pretty interesting. So we're going to get right into it. But first and foremost, actually, right before we get into it, Matt, did you hear my soda fact on Friday? Did you like that? That they used to put pulp in Orange Crush?
Yeah, that was that was just absolutely wretched.
Disgusting.
Revolting. I mean, it's so gross. So why would anyone ever think that was a good idea? I know. So bad.
I was like, I was running low. We're starting to run low here on what's a good soda fact like that's like really out there. But I thought that one really, I never even heard of that, and it was absolutely revolting. I didn't even fact check it. I'll be honest. I saw it in a couple places, and I thought that sounds right enough. It's so funny.
Oh, just the pulp with like the bubbles.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Too much.
You're drinking it from a can, and like the pulp gets stuck in the metal of the can or something.
Gross.
I mean, it was the jar. It was probably jars, but like glass bottles at the time. But imagine like the hole in the glass bottle is so small. Like, would it even fit through there? Maybe the pulp gets stuck, and you have to like get something out to push the pulp down.
That's so gross.
Absolutely revolting. All right. Corrections and comments from the previous show are very important to us, so if you come across any necessary corrections in today's episode, please send them to ggreplayshow@gmail.com or head down to the YouTube comments below so we can address them in the next episode. Or, if you just want to comment on something you heard today, like how wretched the idea of adding, after the fact, pulp in an Orange Crush soda is, feel free to leave that comment on our YouTube comments as well, or I don't know, a rating on the podcast app if that's where you can put a comment too. Hey, 5 stars. I talked about pulp. All right, Matt. The reviews are in. They are in. We have some interesting reviews for some interesting games today. Many of them I barely remember existing, but they're actually pretty neat. All right, so we're starting off with our fantasy waifu dream dungeon crawler, Mary Skelter. It is a JRPG dungeon crawler. Got a 72 on OpenCritic, and that one is out right now. I don't think there's a whole lot for us to say about this besides it looks like classic JRPG turn-based dungeon crawler with waifus everywhere. Got some visual novel elements in there. Matt, you going to be picking up Mary Skelter?
Absolutely not. No, definitely not. This is so not a game that I would play. Only if it were like one of the like Doki Doki Literature Club type of thing, where it has like a twist and it's not really what it appears to be. But I think this is exactly what it appears to be.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of good dungeon crawling and visual novel kind of mixed games and stuff out there right now. That 72, pretty good. Get to this after you crack the top 100 list, and then maybe this will be on there for you. All right, moving on to Eon Drive. Eon Drive. It is a 2D precision platformer, and it looks like a bucket of fun. Got an 82 on OpenCritic. It is out right now. This looks pretty fun. I know neither of us are like huge. I would say probably I would play a 2D platformer before you would. But it looks fun, looks clean. I like the teleportation dagger mechanic, looks really cool, and the way you can fly through the levels. But I will say time trials on levels, I totally get it. This is something people like. This stresses me the hell out. So I don't know if I'd be playing this. What do you think, Matt? This is something you might ever get into, or for the genre though, do you think this looks like a cool game?
These difficult, like purposefully difficult 2D platformers, I don't even touch them because I just know it's not going to happen. It's going to be too difficult. I'm going to get frustrated.
Yep.
I'm sure if I pound my head against the wall 100 times on a level, I can figure it out eventually, but I don't want to do that. That's enjoyable for some people, not for me.
I liked in like stuff like Celeste, where that's like the intention of the level, but even then, I get it, the intention that it's difficult and whatever, but even then I had to stop playing that because I got too frustrated, and I'm bad at precision, so you have to like get yourself on the tiniest edge of something and then jump off like 10 more thousand times and memorize every jump. It's cool. I'm not saying it's not a valid game, but I'm with you, Matt. I'd rather do maybe a crazy 3D platformer or something.
No, I mean, I will say like it's not for me, but I really respect the level design in those games. Like that is genius work when it's done well. I mean, it's absolutely immaculate level design.
Absolutely. All right, moving on, we have Unsighted. It's an old school RPG. 85 on OpenCritic. That is also out now. 85 on OpenCritic is great. That is a mighty score, Matt. I won't lie. You added this right at the end here. I did not see what this game looks like. You want to give us a little something on Unsighted?
It looks like it plays like an old school RPG. Some really cool pixel art. I didn't look into it too much because I just don't think I'm really interested in it. But it looks all right visually. I'm always down for some cool pixel art. It's sort of like a top-down action RPG type thing. Again, I didn't really look into it too much because beyond the just the base first blush visual, I saw it as probably not for me. It looks cool visually, but
it does look cool.
The
actually,
type of game it is, I don't think it's for me.
Yeah, I like it. It looks really cool. It's great to see if you're interested in this type of game. And 85 is awesome. It's out on Switch. Looks like a really fun Switch game to play. I'm all for it. Really, really cool. It's not something I would probably play right away, but it might be something I pick up later. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe one day I'll get into some good RPGs. Maybe when I get a Switch, I'm looking for things to play. I'm getting drawn more and more, especially now the OLED Switch is out. I'm like, oh, maybe I should just like, they say like OLED Switch probably best for newbies, for people who haven't played, who haven't owned a Switch before. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
The fact that we do this segment now, it shows me how many good games come out all the time, and even like mediocre games. There's just too much. You can never ever get to all of it. There's too much. It sucks because there's so many amazing games that I will just never even touch, and that's just how it is. You just have to pick and choose what you're going to spend your time with.
Yeah, that's why it makes me happy to be a patient gamer too. I'm not just saying like calling myself patient, but like the patient gamer subreddit and everything. Because in general, there's just so much good stuff out there, and like it's fun to talk about the newest releases. And I won't lie and say I won't get hyped about all the new releases. That's why I like this show. I like talking about gaming news. But when it actually comes down to playing something, it's cool that there's always kind of something on Game Pass or something on sale, or I have like a library full of games to play. And I don't necessarily need to buy new releases almost ever unless I really want to, because there's always something fun to play.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Love it. All right, moving on to something that I probably will purchase. I'm very excited for Alan Wake Remastered. This is, of course, a remaster of the adventure game. Alan Wake got an 81 on OpenCritic. Very admirable score. That is out tomorrow. And And you know what? It looks good. It looks like a pretty straightforward remaster. The graphics got an update. We saw some of the graphics trailers before, and they look good. It's like any remaster. I think sometimes models and things can be a little off, but overall, like textures look good. Everything's updated in a clean way. But of course, it's pretty much a direct remaster. Gameplay is almost exactly the same. In general, you kind of notice the mechanics. In some ways, that's good. There's less like over the top elements where you have to like craft things and do a whole bunch of crazy stuff, in like a modern adventure game might have. But on the flip side, sometimes it can feel a little simplistic and like something from 10 years ago. Matt, is this you've played the original Alan Wake? Have you, or you didn't? Or you did, right? Play the original Alan Wake?
Very, very little. Like maybe
Are
an
you
hour
are you
of it.
interested in getting the remaster?
Sort of, but this goes back to what I was just saying because I still need to play Deathloop. Far Cry 6 comes out in like 3 days, 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get to it. I would love to play it, especially now it's on PlayStation, so there's going to be trophies for it, which I think is always really cool for these kind of games. I don't know if I'll ever get to it, but I would love to. I was really hoping that it was going to be that PS Plus game like it was rumored to be.
Yep.
Maybe somewhere down the line, but it's not right now. I don't know if I'd want to buy it. I don't know. We'll see.
I agree. The original Alan Wake was on Game Pass for a good chunk of time. It's now not on there. But I'm kind of waiting for this to be a Game Pass game. It's not something I, wouldn't spend money on, but also on the flip side, I don't know. I just don't think I have to. I think by the time, at some point, it's probably going to come on Game Pass or PS Plus or something. And at that point, that'll be, enough for me to play it. I don't need to, I'm not dying to play it right now. It's been out for a long time and it hasn't bothered me for the last 10 years. So I feel like I can wait a little longer.
Right.
But cool to see. I think it's probably getting people hyped up for the big sequel we're probably going to get later. I think that's kind of the game here. But
the
we'll
Alan Wake Control universe.
Yes, exactly. And the Left 4 Dead style Alan Wake Control game or whatever the heck they're going to do. All right. And then something that both of us kind of groaned about every time we've seen it in a show, Jet, the Far Ashore. Flying around in a jet, of course, as you would imagine. 65 on OpenCritic. It is out tomorrow. And like I said, neither Matt or I we're really hyped about this game. I think I remember you audibly going like, wow, I just don't care about this every time it showed up in a show. I think the aesthetic is really interesting in that it's so consistently the shape, the frame of how you're playing is always the same. The ship is in the middle. You have these landscapes. It moves in this really kind of mesmerizing way, but ultimately the gameplay just looks like nothing. Like you just scan things. From what I saw in reviews, it's like a worse No Man's Sky. It's like No Man's Sky, but you never leave your ship and you just kind of fly around on like a semi 2D plane doing nothing. Matt, has this the reviews or anything you've seen swayed your opinion that this is kind of just nothing?
No, it looks really bare bones. Looks really simplistic. Like I like walking simulators and I like simple games like let's say,
and that's what people have compared this to as well, a journey type game.
But at the same time, this just looks like it looks very plain, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of heart there. I don't know. I do feel vindicated by a score of 65 that, when we first saw this at whatever show we were watching, and I was like, this doesn't look any good to me. And I saw other people reacting saying it looked awesome. I was like, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? But I do feel vindicated now with a 65 that it really probably is not that good of a game.
Yeah, I think it got away with the art style and like all the nonsense they were talking about. The beauty and the simplicity and the way it makes you feel probably got them their 65, but like ultimately, yeah, it doesn't seem to be much more than what it is. So, which means nothing what I just said, by the way. All right, let's get into the stories here because we spent a long time talking about other people's reviews. Let's give our hot takes and talk about some stories. Now, this happened last week, but I didn't get around to putting it in the show yet. I thought Matt and I could talk about it. Nothing major, but I think it's worth mentioning. The God of War Ragnarok was evidently delayed due to Christopher Judge's medical issues. Now, Christopher Judge broke this news himself. He said he's been up in his feelings. He tweeted this and said, no one knows this. Like, he didn't ask the studio permission. Santa Monica didn't tell them anything. And basically just came out saying, hey, to the beloved fandom, Ragnarok was delayed because of me. August of 2019, I couldn't walk. I had back surgery, both hips replaced, and knee surgery. So, it sounds like Christopher Judge was probably in a very serious accident. And this may have been different 10 years ago, even 5 years, but like with the mocap they do in these games, with how involved it would have to be, even just to do voice acting, to be in such shape, it would be very difficult, I'm sure, to give a good performance. So yeah, it makes sense why they would delay because of that. But I feel so bad for Chris that like he feels guilty because of this. It made me feel so bad. I was like, I saw this and I was like, what a sweetheart. Like, no, that's okay. Like, that's fine. You're allowed. You don't have to feel bad about that. Yeah, but I guess it's good to see like not that like it's not justified, but it is interesting to see a good reason, I guess, to be like, hey, by the way, just so you know, the game didn't come out. It probably would have. That's why it felt PS4 targety. So when it's coming out so late, because it was probably supposed to come out a lot earlier.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about this timeline because obviously things shut down only like what 4 or 5 months after the accident in August 2019. So were they in the middle of mocap? Were they about to start mocap? I don't really know if
Right.
why couldn't they just get a different actor to come in for mocap and have him do voice work? And then if he was just doing voice work, could he have done voice work from home like everyone did over the last year and a half? I don't know. It's kind of confusing. I don't really understand the timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
mean, it sounds like they were pretty sensitive to the issue. Maybe he just wasn't able to do it. He was, couldn't walk. He was in recovery, in a bad place. Maybe they were able to kind of work around that, which is, fine. It's just interesting. I agree with you with the timeline. Yeah, it's like, I guess it just really sucks for everyone involved. Like that, it was a bad timing for that because for the studio, I mean, of course, because then COVID hit not long after. They probably were going to delay a little bit. Then COVID hit, which gave everyone huge delays. And then it kind of resulted in the game probably coming out a year or more after it was probably supposed to.
yeah, I wonder if this was supposed to come out at the end of 2020. Like, I wonder if this
I
was supposed to be like a month before PS5 or something like that.
Honestly, that doesn't surprise me to imagine that this would be something that would come out maybe right on the cusp of PS4, PS5, Miles Morales style, where it comes out on both and it has
Yeah.
like, but it's more PS4 built with like, upscaling targets and things like that. So yeah, kind of interesting to hear that, I guess, just to kind of give us some background on what's happening. Obviously, heart goes out to Christopher Judge. That's a very awful scenario to be in, and he's very committed to the character and the story and the fandom, which is awesome. But also just in general, yeah, it's interesting to see behind the curtain. And when we talk often about the game being so delayed, okay, this is like a pretty big reason that makes sense. Like the game's star, when this is kind of a game based around like I mean, a star and a character that is so built around performance. Yeah, I guess that makes sense why they would have to postpone for such a long time.
Is he? I assume he's doing better now, right?
Yeah, it sounds like he's doing a lot better now.
Well, that's good.
I mean, he's had his hips replaced, he's had his stuff, so I think he can move and do things now. But yeah, obviously
Both
a huge life
hips.
shift. Well,
Both
I
hips
know,
and knee surgery and back surgery.
I know,
That's
couldn't walk.
that's gonna be painful when he's old.
That's absolutely so. Absolutely. I get why that would have such a huge effect, and also like kudos though on the flip side to Santa Monica Studios. I think that's really cool that they stood by their star. I mean, we don't see all the stuff in the background, but cool to see. They really give off that family vibe, and that they're working together, and that they have good. Like we hear a lot of great stuff coming out of them from working at their studio and in a game industry where there's a lot of bad blood and crunch and stuff. It's cool to see them working really hard to kind of support each other. So
It also like it wasn't delayed just because of him. Like there's
no,
another
I agree.
massive
I
news
think
event that
that's
happened. So
that's what right. That's what Christopher Judge is saying, right? And I think
yeah,
he's feeling guilty, right? So he's saying that. I'm sure that did cause delays, but I'm sure like there's a lot of things that cause delays, right? I think there's like a ton of stuff probably that happened, and that's just one of the many dominoes that may have affected, like maybe knock some other stuff down the line, which messed things up. So anyway, it sounds like he's just being, I think like, I don't want to say humble. I don't know what the right word is, but kind of being like, oh, I feel really fucking bad because I feel like this was my fault. And it's like, dude, don't worry, it's not your fault. But like, also, yeah, I get why you could feel like guilty, but like, I feel like he's like, I just want everyone to know it was my fault. Like being like, please don't take it out on Santa Monica. And it's like, dude, no one's gonna take it out on you. Like, it's fine. It's a video game.
yeah. It seems
But
like it was just.
there are.
It seems like it was just something that he felt like he just had to get off his chest and just
Yeah, I think
get
so.
it out
So
there.
that's why I'm like, all right, cool. Good to know. Anyway, we probably spent too long on this, but I just thought it was kind of an interesting thing, just like a human interest story, kind of a sad thing. All right, we're moving on, talking about Sony once again. Sony is testing game trials on PS5. Now we saw game trials on Xbox being kind of tested now. They're talking about that, like instant launch and that kind of stuff with the new tech. So Sony is now working on that with PS5. Users will be able to download first-party titles and try them for free for a limited time. As of right now, the feature is only available for Death Stranding Director's Cuts, the second in the Strand-type games here, and Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Now, this is kind of interesting. Death Stranding will allow 6 hours, and Sackboy will allow 5 hours. Now, Matt, you were saying the timer begins upon the start of the download. Now, That's what I read everywhere, too, when I looked at it. Does that mean the timer begins at the start of download and the timer includes gameplay time or actual real-life time?
Real-life time. So as soon as the download starts, that 6 hour clock or that 5 hour clock starts ticking, and you have until the end of it. So for people who don't have great internet, sucks. But yeah. I did see people were talking about a workaround where you create a new account on your PlayStation, you log into that, you download the game trial with that, so you have the game downloaded, and then you go into another account, and I guess you can start playing because you already have the game downloaded. I don't know exactly how that works, but they were mentioning some sort of workaround like that. But I will say, I'm interested in the idea of this. I luckily do have pretty good internet, so I
mean, come on though. This should the download. This should start when your download completes, right? I mean, that
totally.
Seems pretty obvious, right?
No, totally.
That feels like an oversight that will be fixed. I would imagine. I would hope.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come in the feedback.
I wonder if that was just some sort of thing where they're like, let's just get the testing stuff out there. We don't have a workaround for this yet, but
maybe there's no way for them to do that yet. Like there's no way for them to actually like measure that time based on when it downloads. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really strange. But these are actually 2 games that have been on my list. So, and there are also 2 games where it's kind of like I was on the cusp of like, do I want to pay full price? They're on my list waiting to get notified for a sale. So maybe I try these out, and all the saves carry over, all the trophies carry over. So this is something that I really might give a shot with this test. I know Sackboy you can play the whole thing co-op. That's something I'd like to do with my wife. And then Death Stranding. Obviously, we've been talking about it a lot since we started this show. A game I'm interested in playing more so now with the director's cut, but also one, you don't want to you might not just want to buy it outright because you might love it, you might hate it. It's one of those
very
things.
Polarizing, and I think pretty early on in the first few hours you'll get the idea, right, of like what.
Oh yeah, 6 hours is definitely enough. Yeah.
Here's my thing though, and I just don't get it. I think real time is a terrible metric. I think that should be based on game time, especially when it's not a blanket thing. So it's not like some games take less time to complete, so it feels like a ripoff for those companies. It's like the games are specific. The times are specific to the game. So I think they should make it game time based, because what if something happens and you get busy? There goes your trial. Or what if what if you want to try to get 6 hours out of it, and they're like, well, you can try, but you better sit there for 6 hours. Don't go get a drink or you're going to miss out. It's like, that's so weird to me in 2021 that they were basing anything off of real time, especially when there's so many adult gamers and things who have, responsibilities. I think there's like a cool thing that like a lot of people maybe would love to try, but they're like the kind of people who play after their kids go to bed. And it's like, what if a kid gets up in the middle of the night? Well, there goes your game trial, I just think that's arbitrary and weird. Hopefully that's just based on the testing, and that won't be something that's in the initial thing. I mean, these are early tests, so obviously this might just be to get it out and test the technology more so than testing the system of how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate that.
I'm fine with it being real time if, like you said, if the clock starts when you first launch the game, not with the download. Like I understand
definitely that. Yeah.
I understand why they might want it to be in real time with PS5. There's almost like you get into like a gray line territory, like whether the game is actually on or not, because it's so quick to load in. You might just get out of the game and be on the menu screen and the game's running in the background, and you might forget to turn it off. It is weird that it starts with the download, because
very weird.
The download for some people could be 5 minutes, for others it could be the entire day.
Yeah, very inequitable system. Yeah, it's not good. But I mean, I guess people who would take the entire day, you got to imagine like those people are people who've kind of accepted that like internet gaming stuff, downloading and streaming is just not something that's going to work super well in their connection, which is terrible. But also, I mean, but like you said, I mean, there's a fix for that. They could just make it start when the download is finished, and that would give them something, right? So
Side note with that,
not great.
I will say, you know how like last generation they really started doing the digital games and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I went all digital probably around 2017 or so, just because physical doesn't matter anymore, because you get physical and then you still have to install the game, and then the game has to be in the you're installing the game, and it still has, the disc has to be in the box. It's
absolutely ridiculous. It's a bad system. I think maybe if you had bad internet and you just wanted to put the disc in there as a way to install it, and then you didn't have to leave, you could just run it off the hard drive at that point without having to put the discs out in. That would be fine. That would kind of make sense for me why disc might still work. But at this point, when you have to still also put the disc in as like an authentication system, no. Terrible system. I've been all digital since I got my Xbox One in 2014. I will continue to be all digital. I think there's total merits to being physical, even with the parameters. I think if you're like a used game person, totally fair. I'm not. So all digital is my fave way to go.
I've bought like 2 discs since 2017 because they were like deep sales, and I've just figured I'd get it that way.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, I love that we can just get console games digitally now.
I love it. A new game comes out at like midnight. You just start downloading it. You just put on your credit card and off you go. Love that. I will say, I bought. I think the only game I bought recently was Spider-Man PS4. Recently, I mean, like last few years. I bought that new on the day it came out, physical. I don't know why, honestly. I think I was worried about internet. I got a PS4 just for this game. I got like a used PS4 from someone, and I guess I just didn't want to have to wait for it to like download. But like I feel like my internet was good enough at the time that I could have, and I had to install anyway. So kind of weird, but I did. I got that one physical, and I always kind of get annoyed when I turn on my PS4 and then I have to like put Spider-Man into it. So
yeah, I
that's
got
one game and I hate it.
I got Final Fantasy 15 on deep sale on Amazon physical, and I got Horizon Zero Dawn physical, but now I also have the Horizon Zero Dawn complete for free through PS Plus, I think, at some point. So I have it digital anyway now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, this trial will end on October 28th. The test run for the trials will end then. So yeah, get in there, try it out, see what's going on, leave some feedback. Help us with the wave here of feedback for starting when the download completes and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that's all going to get ironed out, but kind of cool. All right, let's move on. We were just talking about Final Fantasy 15. Well, let's talk about Final Fantasy 16, which Naoki Yoshida will confirmed at TGS 2021. There will be an expansive skill tree system, which is cool. Also, some interesting stuff they were talking about in this interview. Like they want to focus more on the main encounter and the main storyline and have that be more of a through line, which is cool because I know a lot of people with 15 felt it was a little too like broken up into different kind of things. So yeah, it's kind of cool. I have not really played a lot of modern Final Fantasy. I say that's so funny to say it like that. I've not played a lot of Final Fantasy. But specifically, definitely not the modern stuff. Matt, is this an interesting thing? Do you think this is something that Final Fantasy could use more of from someone who played 15?
I get a little bit worried about the idea of an expansive skill tree in a Final Fantasy game getting very convoluted.
Yeah.
But with that said, I kind of just trust Yoshi P at this point. Yeah. Like, I just trust that he's going to put out a good product. So I'm really not concerned. I think that when he says that they're going to have an expansive skill tree system, he knows exactly what he wants, and that him saying that is probably a positive. It's not like some fluff that you might see from another producer saying, we have this expansive skill tree system, and it's actually not.
10 million combinations of how you could make the character. Yeah. It's like...
So I don't feel like it's fluff. I feel like it's something that he believes in, and it's true, and that it's a good positive thing for the game. So yeah, I mean, I have no reason to doubt Yoshi P.
Cool, we love it. Yeah, and like he said, it's important for more character growth and to make it more personal to the player. So we love that. We love that energy, and it's cool because I definitely feel like sometimes playing Final Fantasy, again, I play a ton of Final Fantasy, little tidbits. It often feels like I'm part of a bigger story, which I think some people like, but it also kind of would feel cool to be a little more like personal and and have some more control over how I do the character. So skill tree sounds cool. I'm in. I don't know if I'll play it, but maybe. I have actually been wanting to pick up 15. I'm just waiting for like a really good sale.
It's
And then
good,
I
man.
probably will jump into that.
It's for someone who's never played Final Fantasy before and is more used to open world action RPG type stuff. It's a really good starting point.
Yeah.
I've only played 14 and 15. I've like very lightly dabbled in older Final Fantasy games like 10, but I've never gone full into them. But I loved 15. I really did.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely give it a try. I like a good road trip story. So
yeah, that aspect of it, like the buddy road trip thing, is really cool.
Love that. Really cool. All right, moving right along to something I think Matt might be very excited about. The Epic Game Store is launching achievements next week. We've got them. More achievements to thirst over. The feature is called Epic Achievements, of course, and will roll out to developers over time. The achievements give the player XP with a max of 1,000 per game. All right. And it's like PlayStation trophies, or maybe even, gamer score, whatever on Xbox. It's Xbox achievements.
It's like a combination. Because the Xbox achievements max at 1,000 points, right?
They do, yeah.
So you have that, but then like on these Epic achievements, like
actually, I think I want. Is it 10,000? No, it's 1,000. It's 1,000.
I think it's 1,000. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And then these Epic achievements have like little different kinds of trophies, like bronze, gold, silver, and then I think they even call the top one a platinum achievement. I could be wrong on that, but I thought that's what I read. So it's like a combination of Xbox achievements and PlayStation trophies.
One is an Epic stealing something and aping other companies to do the same thing here.
I don't think I care. I don't care about Steam achievements, so I don't think I'll care about these. I just for whatever reason I like PlayStation trophies, but I don't really care about any other achievement system. What about you?
I think once you're really into a certain achievement system, right? I think that's the one that you get involved in, and you try to play games on that platform to get the achievement. I think that's part of the whole game, right? And having to split them between a bunch of different companies isn't ideal. This is probably laying the groundwork for Epic to do what they've been trying to do, which is become like take over Steam or become like a huge competitor, or maybe if not that, at least like get to more of like a 50-50 or even like a 80-20, something where Epic is more of a large game store where everyone kind of opens as a portal to play all their games. And so this is kind of them trying to move to that and to compete more with like Steam achievements. But right now, I don't think it's going to matter to a lot of people. It's mostly going to be like, hey, I got some Epic achievements, whatever. But eventually, those are going to add up when Epic one day magically becomes the biggest store in the world or something, which is, I guess, their dream. But that being said, I don't care. I don't care about achievements at all. I vaguely wanted to. The only game I've remotely wanted to 100% in recent memory was Spider-Man. It's like the most platinum game on PlayStation because it's pretty easy.
It's
mostly just time consuming. I didn't quite get there. I'm at like 97 or something, and I kind of just like slowed down because a lot of it's like weird secret photo challenges I have to look up. But overall, I mean, I don't usually care. The only reason with that one I cared was just because I just kept wanting to be in the world and swing around anyway. So if I'm there, I may as well just do some 100% things just to, give me something to actually accomplish while I've beaten the game. But yeah, I don't really care. I'm not an achievement guy. I totally get it. I totally get why people like that. But I just kind of play to play. So not really a big thing for me. Epic, I agree with you. Steam achievements and then therefore Epic achievements are even less interesting to me than console achievements for some reason. I just don't care about these platforms with so many. I don't know what it is, but like Xbox gamer score feels way cooler to me when it bloops up and I get it. Maybe it's just a nostalgia thing, but I love that. Even PlayStation trophies are kind of cool to get. I appreciate it, but I'm as an Xbox guy, I really like seeing my achievement come up. It's kind of fun. I know what like the UI looks like when I get it, and I can find out what the achievement was for. It's fun. I just never really cared about getting Steam achievements. I guess it's just maybe the way the UI works. It pops up and it's like an ugly little box. If Epic is anywhere in the same way, it's probably gonna feel like that too. Whereas like I know when the Xbox achievement comes up in the little oval at the bottom and it goes bloop. It's really cool. I like that. It makes me feel happy, and I'm sure you feel the same way about PlayStation trophies.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that it's a community thing. Like for PlayStation trophies and Xbox achievements have this as well on their own side. There's just such a big community that is huge into that kind of thing, and they make it feel more important than it probably really is. And I think that's what draws me to it, I think.
I don't know if Steam has this either too, but I think and I don't know if Epic will have this, but one thing they've added to like Xbox ones, I think they were on the PlayStation ones. Right in when you get the achievement, it like tells you how rare it was, which I love, like on the little pop up, which is really awesome. That is like a huge achievement boner to me. I don't like go looking for achievements, but I always get really happy. When I was playing Sable, which I think that's a good example of something where again these Game Pass games were probably a lot of people opened it, but didn't actually bother playing very much of it. So then all the achievements are really rare. That happened in Hades too.
Yeah.
And so like I got weird achievements like falling from a really high height, but for some reason it was like a big gem came up and it was like only 2% of people who have played have gotten this achievement. And I was like, whoa, I feel so special. But I did. It feels good. I like seeing that because like I don't know how rare an achievement is or if it's like worthwhile. And I'm sure you can obviously all of them tell you that if you go into the details, but it was cool to see it pop up and I'm like, oh, I don't have to actually care about achievements to know how special I must feel.
That is cool. Yeah, PlayStation, when you pop a trophy, it doesn't tell you the rarity, but if you go into the menus, it'll say the percentage of people that have it.
Yeah, it's cool if the Xbox One, I guess there's a certain threshold. I don't know what it is, 5%, 10%, something. It has like a slightly different sound. And it has like a little like gem that comes up beside it, like a little like diamond. And then it says like, 2% of people got this. So if it's like a rare achievement, it actually pops up as a rare achievement.
I like that. That's cool.
Which is kind of fun. Yeah, and the sound changes a little bit. It gets like even more excited. Which is cool.
That's
so yeah,
neat.
I like that a lot. So Epic, just make it fun, and I might care. I like the pop up. I like seeing them. I don't know. I'm not an achievement hunter, but I like a fun achievement. So bring it on. Come on. All right, moving on. Talking about Elden Ring. You know what? I don't think anyone really cares about this game anymore, Matt. Should we talk about it? I don't think anyone cares about Elden Ring anymore. Elden Ring is in the final stages of development, according to From Software's Yasuhiro Kitao in an interview with Famitsu. This probably means they're on time for the release. It's nothing too exciting. I would hope they would be in the final stages of development when the game's coming out in January. So cool. I saw some people online talking about how often the final stages mean like bug squashing and maybe working on like starting to work on DLC maybe and getting that ready for the eventual future, which is cool to imagine. But yeah, I guess not surprising, but pleasant news to know that we're on track. I guess like nowadays it's just good to hear we're on track because there's often a lot of delays in games.
Yeah, I'm curious because since I don't really play From Software games, I am curious, and I don't remember what I've heard about this or not, how buggy they are on release, if at all, or if they're like very polished. If they're a little buggy on release, then okay, this makes sense. If they're more polished on release, then I think I've said this before, but I have a feeling Elden Ring might end up getting a little bit delayed. Even if it's only like a month or two, it just feels like it's gonna need a little bit more. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean. I've always felt like they're really on track with this. Ever since they announced the date, everything else, I've always just had this feeling. I don't know. I guess I haven't followed From Software games extremely intently, but I will say they mostly seem to come out around the right time and seem to be pretty on track with what they're doing. Elden Ring has seemed on track to me from what they've showed. They've never shown anything that looked like it was like way behind or really bad. But they also haven't shown a lot anyway, I guess, to be fair.
I just think it's because when we first learned about the release date, it was so much sooner than we expected. Because they announced it at E3. It was the opening. What was it? What show was it? It was it was the end of the.
Or not the Game Awards, the opening Summer Games Fest.
Yeah. It was the end of the Jeff Keighley show that opened the E3, and we got the release date, and I remember just being like, "Whoa, that is." I thought it'd be later in 2022, maybe 2023. So I guess that's where I'm coming from is. And especially like them saying they're in the final stages, like, is that bug squashing or is there still like legitimate development happening? Because if there's legitimate development still happening, then I don't see how they're going to make January.
I saw people talking online. A lot of times that terminology of final stages of development usually implies finished game and fixing, but I
Okay.
guess that can be but that can be interpreted, I suppose, too. I don't know. This is just what I read, so I mean, it's not certainly sourced
This is also a
information here.
translated interview, so you really never
Yes,
know what exactly we're getting.
I was hesitant to talk about some of the stuff in this interview because the translations are hilarious. Like some of the stuff is so. There was like, I don't know if you saw any. People were like taking bits, and it was like, what do you think the difficulty of this game will be? And it kept changing from like very difficult. We are making it the most difficult. It's gonna be easy. This is gonna be the easiest game to get into. And you're like, wait, what? Like it was very strangely translated. So we'll have to see that. But yeah, it's exciting. It's cool. I think some of the games are a little janky. I don't know, but I don't know about buggy. I think just in general, these Souls games can be a bit janky.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Like I saw some videos of like Sekiro, sorry, that looked really cool, but then also a lot of stuff where you could just like cheese everything. But I think that's not like bugs so much as like I mean, that's just how they're releasing the game. So yeah,
Sekiro definitely feels like of all of their games, it feels like the most fluid movement in combat.
Yes.
So, you know, I guess that's the one that they're coming off too. That was the last release, right?
Yep, that was.
So
yeah.
I think that's a good sign. We'll have to defer to Mike on this one when it comes out.
Yep, we'll have to ask Mike more about this. We'll save it for the Game Groups. We'll ask him. All right, perfect. Let's talk about it. Another interesting, cool game that, speaking of Sekiro, a nice Japanese RPG game, we have Ghost of Tsushima winning the Game of the Year award at Tokyo Game Show. No, it's Game Show, pardon me. Now it's sharing this award with Monster Hunter Rise. Apparently, a lot of times people mention that Monster Hunter often shares best of awards at these shows because Monster Hunter is just so big, I guess, at the Tokyo Game Show. But kind of cool. It's a Western game taking the top award, which is pretty rad. Tokyo Game Show. It doesn't happen very often, but although it is kind of funny because it's a Western game about feudal Japan, so it's kind of like, all right, yeah, well, we can't get too far away from the source here. But yeah, this is pretty exciting. I'm sure, for you too, Matt, as a Ghost of Tsushima fan, to see them getting some accolades, especially at a Japanese game show that's really going like, hey, you guys nailed it.
Yeah, when this game first came out, I remember reading about how the reception, being a Western game, playing like a Western game, the reception was really good in Japan. And so when I heard that, I felt like, well, that's good news. Obviously, that means that they did the Japanese stuff in the game well.
Yeah,
it was authentic, and the game was generally just a good game. And yeah, I mean, I love Ghost of Tsushima. I'm glad that it's winning this award. It's weird because it came out. I guess this must be a COVID thing.
So their thing is that any game that came out between April 2020 and May 2021 or something, they have like a really So it's like, and then this obviously the show is much later. So yeah, it's kind of a funny. Yeah, even though it came out like 15 months ago, it's technically in the cutoff.
Yeah, Ghost is an amazing game. I mean, it's arguably my favorite game of that year. I still really love The Last of Us Part 2, but after playing through Ghost finally a couple months ago, and now the Iki Island stuff, I think it maybe even tops Last of Us Part 2. It's just so good. It's so beautiful. The story is surprisingly good and heartwarming, and there's some really good voice acting. Specific shout out to Kenji. The voice actor is so talented. He's so good. I think I tried to shout him out on Twitter when I was playing the game, but I don't think he's on Twitter, so I just wrote his name out. But that dude does such a good job. It's so realistic. It's like, I mean, it's hard to describe, but it's like he's not even acting. Like, he brings so much reality to that character. It's great.
Love that. That's so cool. I really want to play Ghost of Tsushima. You've been selling it so hard. My problem here is that I just feel like it's going to run like Donkey do on a launch PS4 at this point. So I'm kind of maybe waiting it out to get some enhancements and play on a PS5 or something in the future.
It was fine on the Slim. I know the Slim, as you mentioned, is a little bit upgraded in terms of power, but it was fine on the Slim. Although,
so maybe I can get away with it.
I will say a lot of games at a certain point, the Slim sounded like a jet taking off. But
yeah, that's the thing. And the launch PS4 is even more of a jet. Man, it is loud. So so anyway, that's I'll definitely look into it though. It looks really cool. And it's awesome to see them get accolades. So love it. We love checking that out. All right, moving on. IllFonic, developer of Friday the 13th, the game, of course, is developing a Ghostbusters game. This news was confirmed by studio co-founder Raphael Sadiq on the Questlove Supreme podcast. Kind of a random place to talk about it. All right. Interesting. I played a tiny bit of Friday the 13th, the game. I think it was on or is on Game Pass at some point. I don't know. I definitely played it a few times. It's fine. I mean, I don't know. Dead by Daylight exists.
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of trumps the whole thing. I kind of feel bad for IllFonic. I feel like those kind of came out around a similar time and kind of messed up their flow a little bit here when you could just play as every killer in the same kind of game. I don't know, Matt. I'm a medium Ghostbusters fan. I certainly enjoyed the original movies. Not crazy about the reboot and the new sequel. I don't know. I'll probably watch it, but I'm not a wild Ghostbusters fanatic. Does this seem exciting to you? What kind of game do we think this could be? Could this be another many versus monster kind of thing, like Friday 13th or Dead by Daylight, Slender style? Or is this going to be like a story game like the Xbox Ghostbusters game? What the heck is this?
I have to imagine it's going to be some sort of multiplayer game. Looking at the games that they've released since Friday the 13th, I will say it not a great track record since then. Dead Alliance, which I honestly am not sure I've heard of. Predator Hunting Grounds, which has not been received well, and Arcadegeddon, which I don't even know what the reception was. I just remember seeing that it was announced during some Sony event a while ago.
Yep.
So,
not good.
Not a great recent track record. I will say Raphael Sadiq is an R&B artist according to Wikipedia, but he's one of the co-founders of IllFonic. What is happening here? He's an American singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and record producer. How did he get involved with?
I'm reading on the wiki here. It says IllFonic founder Charles Brungart had been working with R&B artist Raphael Sadiq since exiting college, making records, and then while they're working together, Sadiq was actually the one who brought up the idea of appearing in video games, and then they made a game called Ghetto Golf. And then I guess they just started making video games together because
how did I not know this? This is such a weird story.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like they got like
they made stuff for Star Citizen. What is
there's stuff with like a cannabis dispensary like getting robbed, and they got because someone was trying to rob them or something. I don't even know. This is a crazy story. This
free video essay idea or like mini documentary for YouTube on IllFonics for anyone who wants to do that.
I feel like Raphael Sadiq, maybe Raphael do a talk about it. He's going on podcasts. I mean, obviously he's an R. This makes sense though. I was like, why the heck would he be on Questlove Supreme podcast? But
that's funny.
Probably because he's an R&B producer, which makes total sense. Very interesting. Okay, well that's more interesting than the Ghostbusters game, I'll be honest. Yeah, kind of neat. Very strange story there. Definitely something to keep in mind. Maybe we'll have to do a video essay.
As far as the game, I don't really have confidence. I don't have confidence in them making a non-janky, good... I mean, I don't want to play a multiplayer Ghostbusters game.
I just don't really want to play a Ghostbusters game. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority. I love the original but I like Ghostbusters 2 quite a lot. I'm not like one of these like Ghostbusters 2 haters. I know probably, at the time, right? I think that's the thing, but now it's like, it's good. But everything else, I just don't care about. I didn't really care about the cartoon as a kid. I don't think it's like super cool. Like it doesn't seem like fun to play. It's so campy to the point where it's like that's the whole point. It's hilarious. But it doesn't like none of it actually looks like something I'd want to do. I never wanted to be a Ghostbuster. And maybe it's my age or something. I wasn't young enough, but I don't know. I watched those movies pretty young and it never made me want to be a Ghostbuster. I just thought it was really funny. So for me, a Ghostbusters game, unless it's like played strictly for humor and like the movies in a very like story way, like that Xbox 360 kind of like Ghostbusters 3, spiritual game was. I'm not really particularly interested in the IP very much. I just like I'm barely interested in this like weird Paul Rudd Stranger Things Ghostbusters movie that's coming out. I'll watch it just because it looks like an okay movie. But
I don't even know what you're talking about. There's a Paul Rudd Stranger Things Ghostbusters movie.
They're making a new Ghostbusters movie, and it stars the main kid from Stranger Things, Finn Wolfhard, I think.
And
some other kid. and they're all like, and then it turns out he's like Egon Spengler's grandkid, and
That kid is gonna do 80s only
I know.
content for the rest of his life.
I know. Now, obviously, this is modern day, but it's like based on like,
Yeah.
and then it's like, and it's all these like, teens, whatever, like going around discovering all the Ghostbusters stuff, and they like release all these ghosts. And Paul Rudd is like their well-meaning teacher who like kind of like helps like chaperone them around to do all this stuff. And it looks fun. It looks fine. I'm gonna watch it, but I mean, like,
I like
I
Paul
just like,
Rudd.
yeah, I like the cast and like the concept, and I like these like teens running like these like Stranger Things esque. They hit a good mark here. These like 80s grouped together movies like this like what is it Goonies style movies.
Yeah.
Sure, let's bring some of these back. I'm into it, but also like chill. This is probably the last one of these things I'm gonna watch for a while. So.
To your point about Ghostbusters 2, I think that was a case of you don't know what you got till it's gone. Where
I think so.
Yeah, the reception upon release might not have been great, but then you realize down the line when the Ghostbusters franchise is dead in the water and then weirdly resurrected like 20 years later, it's like,
yeah,
okay, well, all right.
It's not good. It's not good stuff. All right. And finally, moving on to the final story of the day. Right before we do, though, I just want to remind everyone out there that if you are listening and you are enjoying yourself right now, then please take a moment to open up your phone, wipe off your wet hands just so you can actually get that screen open and go ahead and give us a 5-star review or a thumbs up or a like on whatever podcast app you are currently listening on. It means so much to us. It helps so much, and it pushes us up in the algorithm so we can make more and better content for all of you at home. All right, moving on to the final story of the day. Valve cancels ticket sales to the International 2021, the Dota tournament. They still have plans to hold the event, but there will be no live attendees. Now, this is getting a lot of backlash. Essentially,
Really?
from what I gather here on the story is initially this was going to be hosted in Sweden, but I guess like the company that Valve works through here, like the international company that like runs this through Valve, actually is in Bucharest in Romania.
Oh, okay.
And so they changed the venue to Bucharest because it would be easier for them to do it that way. But then now Sweden is doing really well with COVID stuff, and they've opened up a lot more, and Romania has definitely not. They're like one of the worst in the
Yeah, I
world
just
for COVID
looked it
cases
up.
right now.
They have this is their biggest peak they've ever had right now.
Yeah, and they're continuing. I guess they have like a 20% vax or a 30% vaccination rate. Like they're having a really, really hard time in Romania. So naturally unideal. But to be fair, on the flip side, I think sales for these tickets only went on sale from what people were saying like a few weeks ago. And then also this event is starting. I think the first things are starting on the 7th, but the main event's on the 13th. So this is coming up fast, and there's a lot of people who probably have not been able, who probably can't cancel flights, can't cancel hotels potentially, are going to have a lot of issues with that kind of stuff. So yeah, Valve is going to refund you for your tickets, but you may be out of pocket a lot of money here. And it's kind of something that a few weeks ago, like they probably should have seen. Like this has been news for a while, this whole thing about what's going on in Romania. This is something they probably could have communicated a little bit earlier. I think they've kind of waited to the last moment here, probably in a hope that they didn't have to cancel the event, but that might be detrimental to a lot of fans and people who are really interested in checking this out, who maybe were willing to take that risk and now are out a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't know. It's other than they should have made a decision earlier. Obviously, you're right. There's nothing they can really do other than refund people for the actual event ticket. It just kind of sucks.
It sucks. It's no good. I mean, as far as I can tell, it just looks like a bad scenario, and it sucks on all accounts. It's too bad it happened this way. COVID is awful, and this is like a terrible thing that's happening around the world. But on the flip side, yeah, it's hard to say exactly how it could have gone down, but it does seem like a lot of people feel as though people who are more in the know about this than I am, seem to think that Valve probably could have gotten ahead of this a lot earlier. I think there were a lot of people in the last few weeks kind of like communicating. I saw a lot of people saying things about unread emails, unanswered emails, Valve not really getting back to them, not communicating what they were going to do with this. And then at the very last second here, kind of being like, hey, we're canceling it. We're still going to do the event, obviously, but you can't come here. I mean, obviously, I agree with this decision. I think everyone agrees with the decision of canceling the live event of the live portion of the event here, the audience portion of the event. But yeah, it's just the way they did it. I can't tell if it is the way that it had to go or not, but
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
scenario.
the way you could have gotten around it, even if it's bad in Romania right now, I mean, if I don't know, like if everyone coming in has a negative test or is vaccinated, then
double vaxxed, and
I don't know. Then maybe you could have still made it work. But I don't know. I guess they just didn't want to take chances.
Yeah, I don't know how it works over there in the Eastern Bloc. It's a whole thing, but yeah, it's a bit of a mess. So I think Valve is kind of reeling from that right now, and we're going to see how that shakes out. But it's disappointing. I think a lot of people are unhappy to see esports kind of continue this way. Maybe it was just too soon, in Europe and some of these other places to get ahead. I think there's still a lot of even large European countries who are having a lot of issues with COVID. And I think maybe it's too soon to have tried to do this event maybe for them, and maybe that's something we're going to keep seeing with other things across the world. Have to see how that plays out in the coming months. All right, Matt. Well, that's kind of a negative tone here to end the show on, but always we're always positive here on the GG replay. And
always positive.
We're always positive, I tell you.
Not positive for COVID, but always positive.
That is true. I not to brag, but I have never been positive for COVID, so very good. We love that. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, we're pretty much done the show. Just as we're winding down here, and Matt is enjoying a delicious vanilla Coke. How is that, by the way? Is it?
I love it. I love vanilla Coke.
Yeah, I know it's a fan fave here. Just a reminder to everyone out there in the podcast verse that if you enjoyed this episode, we do have a whole ass website. It's not an ass website.
It's not an
ass
website.
Whole hyphen.
It's safe for work.
It is safe for work. It's goodnightgroofs.com. You can check it out. We have a blog. We have videos. We have podcasts like this one, like Game Groofs, our weekly all-encompassing gaming podcast hosted by Matt, and including many more Groofs than you see here. And in addition, we also have links to all of our socials, and most importantly, our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/goodnightgroofs, where we will stream live most major gaming events, and also we're looking at playing more on there. So, if you want to make sure to subscribe there so you can make sure to check out or follow, I guess, a Twitch account. Make sure you check out when we are going to be streaming. But also, if you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see the Groove stream, leave us a message anywhere you can. One great place to leave us a message is actually on our Patreon. We do take suggestions for pretty much everything in Groofdom on our Patreon at the $1 tier. We also have a $3 tier, which gets you early access to Game Groofs podcast, which is normally on a Sunday, but comes out on a Friday for our Patreons, and a $5 special kind of tier, which gives you a shout out, and just is like for super fans who really want to support us and what we are doing out here. So you can check that out at patreon.com/goodnightgroofs. If you just remotely like anything we do, even just a token amount of $1 just to be part of our community is really, really awesome. And we would love suggestions. We're super open to it. But at this point, if you become a $1 Patreon and send us a suggestion, hell, if you just send us a suggestion for anything at all, check out ggreplayshow@gmail.com. We will probably do it or talk about it. We're super open to, building and working with the community here and getting to know everyone who listens to us. So definitely reach out. We love to hear from all of our I hesitate to say fans, all of our listeners. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, for GG Replay today. Matt, do you have anything else to say before we head out of here?
Shout out to my green shirt for beating the green screen. I don't know how it worked, but it did.
I know, it's like the perfect shade of green. Maybe or maybe the worst shade of green. The green screen refuses. Like your software is like, I'm not changing to the color of that ugly thing.
Yeah. It's good to know. I like that I can add the shirt to the rotation now. I wasn't sure, but it worked out.
Wasn't sure?
Wasn't sure.
All right. Well, with that terrible pun, that is going to be it for GG Replay for Monday, October 4th, 2021. We will see you again on Wednesday. I would remind you to listen to Game Groofs, but we did not have one last week. But we will be back again this week with a fantastic episode, so make sure to check that out. Like I said, we're back again on Wednesday. Night Groofs.